In 90 minutes, India made 4 points. 4 deep, searching, hard points that completely flattened Pakistan. So when Pakistan's time came to rebut India, it put on a spectacle, a show, with a barrister who was so carried away by just the appearance that he forgot the substance. Yes, the Pakistani barrister traded, peddled lies, deceits, conceits, but had no answers to at least 4 specific questions. And let me just enumerate those specific questions on hard facts, because that's what we deal with here on India Upfront. The first question, of course, was on the case of abduction. India has said, Hari Salve has said, that Kulbhushan Jadhav was abducted from Iran and not arrested in Pakistan. In his 60 minutes, the Pakistani lawyer could not debunk that claim. No concrete proof, only forced confessional video is what Pakistan was relying on, but even that was not allowed by the ICJ. Hard fact 3, let's get to it very quickly on your screens. Terror charge on Jadhav, only an afterthought, ladies and gentlemen. Even that point that India had raised was not addressed. They could not explain why they suddenly slapped terror charges. Sartaj Aziz admitted to insufficient evidence. They could not explain why Sartaj Aziz did that in the National Senate. So complete disregard for the most important questions. Trial conducted by secret military court. Why? Let's go through those hard facts quickly. Why no consular access was provided? None of those questions that India raised were answered. Let's go through them. Let's go through these hard facts. No legal aid granted to Jadhav. Jadhav's documents not shared with India. What was Pakistan's defense? 0. Never addressed that. Let's look at the others. Repeated requests for consular access denied. India asked that. Why? Why was this the case? Pakistan had no answers. No access or communication to Jadhav's family. Why wasn't at least his mother allowed to see him? No responses from Pakistan on that. Pakistan withdrew domestic security issues from jurisdiction of ICJ suddenly before this entire trial. Why did it? Why did it want to change its own domestic laws? No response for that. None whatsoever. Some reliance on some precedents, India's own stands, but that was in a completely different context. When India first objected to jurisdiction of the ICJ in connection with the Atlantic Plain case, it did so under a separate law, under a separate subclause of the protocols, of the Vienna Protocols, not under the protocol that ensures consular access to individuals in your custody. So none of this addressed. Pakistan threw the proverbial curved ball at India, and I certainly do not think it has succeeded. We spoke to Hari Salve just a short while ago. We're going to play out that conversation. Navika and myself just had him. It's the first time he was talking to the Indian media, and he admitted that he felt that Pakistan suffered not 1 but at least 3 setbacks in the course of that. But just before that, Hari Salve did speak to us. He was in the gymnasium. We caught up with him. He had made a stirring deposition in court for about 90 minutes. In total, India deposed for about 117 minutes to be precise, out of which 90 minutes was the obviously expensive attempt to save an Indian life. Here is what Hari Salve told us. When he came out of the gymnasium, he was speaking to Jonathan, our correspondent who caught him there. Listen very closely.
Harish, how are you? John Gilbert from Times Now. That was quite a workout. Looks like you deserved it. How do you feel it went this morning?
I think it's okay.
Yeah.
We all saw it, heard it.
Yes. But how do you, I mean, what was your instinct? Did you feel the judges were receptive to you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Why did you describe Jadhav's conviction as farcical? That's very powerful language.
It's there in the transcript.
Yeah.
Without consular access, incommunicado.
Yes. And all the other factors you mentioned as well.
Exactly.
I mean, just remind us of those.
Absolutely. anything which is in bright sunlight is convincing.
Yes.
Anything which is in the dark is always suspicious.
Do you? What convinces you that he's even still alive?
We hope. Hope.
Is it simply just a question of hoping?
Yes, and we haven't heard to the contrary.
Yeah. And do you think there's a danger, even if he is alive, that Pakistan might expedite his execution just to get this out of the way?
That's why we applied for urgent measures.
Yeah.
They've, the agent in his opening mentioned they've, I think, executed 10 or 12 people last month.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
What, do you think Pakistan has even a leg to stand on in terms of their
I'll
defense?
tell you 4:30.
Okay, good luck.
That was before Pakistan's reply. Now listen to what Harish Salve told us after Pakistan's reply. He assessed it. This is the only channel that has been able to get through to Harish Salve. Listen very closely to what Harish Salve tells me and Navika. And this happened about 20 minutes ago. Listen in.
Mr. Harish Salve, that was a great deposition made by yourself on behalf of India. What did you think of the Pakistani deposition? No real answers to the questions you raised about the fact that no consular access had been provided to Kulbhushan Jadhav.
Navika, you heard it, I heard it, we all heard it. One comment I cannot resist is, I wonder how Pakistan forcefully says he was an Indian spy and he was sent by India, but then at the same time says India hasn't proved that he was an Indian national. I don't know. This is what we heard just now. So anyway, let's
Mr. Harish Salve, the other question is suddenly Pakistan brings up the fact that there was a passport that was presented to India, a passport where there was a Muslim name. These facts have never been given by the High Commission to the Indian side. And that was your entire case.
I don't want to, you picked it up, you've seen the transcript, I don't want to comment anything more. But let me also remind you, Navika, none of this is relevant. The question is consular access. As I said in the morning, the more grievous the charge, the greater the need for procedural safeguards. If somebody, what did we do with Asad? How did we try him? So the graver the charge, the more the need for procedural safeguards. Today we heard a lot.
But Mr. Harish Salve, there was another question. They said, the Pakistani side said that there is going to be no execution in the next 1 week or 1 month. So there is no urgency for this hearing at all. Do you think this is a deposition or this is an argument that's been given to hoodwink the court?
You almost picked up something interesting, Navika. The agent in his opening suggested there was no urgency because there is some 60 days for one clemency, 90 days for one clemency. That takes you to 4 or 5 months, and he said in the meanwhile the court can hear the main case. So this is like saying, okay, we won't do anything, you hear the main case. Let's see where we go.
Mr. Salve, this is Rahul Shivshankar. I just wanted to ask you a couple of questions. And, I was struck by the complete silence on part of the Pakistani counsel on the question of consular access and why, for the life of Mr. Kulbhushan Jadhav, they couldn't explain why they had denied him consular access, one. And two, why they hadn't handed over to India the verdict copy or the case copy. Did that also strike you as a point?
That and a lot more. Anyway.
No, but why do you think they were not forthcoming on that point, and how germane is that? Because, sir, that's exciting a lot of conversation back here in India.
You're assuming that there is an answer. If there isn't, there isn't.
So you mean to say that because they don't have an answer?
Mr. Harish Salve, did it strike you?
They really don't have a leg to stand on that one question. It's not because India has not cooperated in the investigation.
Yeah. Anyway, you all heard, we all heard. So let's see what the court decides.
Mr. Harish Salve, just on the form of the deposition made by the Pakistani side, Barrister Qureshi, my question to you, did you think it was a legal deposition or did you think it was a rhetorical political statement that was being made in the International Court of Justice? How did you classify it?
As a lawyer, I will not like to comment on the submissions of another lawyer.
But he said that, we were using the space as one for theatrics.
That's all right.
People are very angry.
You heard it, I heard it, the judges heard it.
People are extremely angry, sir. People are very angry here in India after they heard the Pakistani lawyers spewing all sorts of lies, fallacious lies. And I just wanted, therefore, for you to set the record straight. What were the 3 lacunas in your estimation, sir, please? If you could.
No, I don't want to start getting into
that. No, but you must have a loose idea, at least a loose assessment.
The one comment, of course, which I couldn't resist is that he was I don't know if he was an Indian spy, but the lawyer said that we have not proved that he was an Indian national. So I don't know where they are coming from on that.
Okay.
One of our points was...
Mr. Harish Salve.
Yeah, sorry, you were elaborating on that.
Mr. Salve.
See, in 2 of the earlier
please
cases,
go on, Mr.
came against
Salve.
America, there used to be a doubt about the nationality of the person who was arrested. Like if Mr. Legrand was arrested, nobody knew he was really a German national. Stuff like that. Here, the allegation is he is an Indian spy sent to India, but then the lawyer also made the point that India has not proved his nationality. So I don't know where we end up with all this. Anyway, this is the kind of contradiction.
On the question of human rights, Mr. Harish Salve, on the question of human rights, there was no explanation also forthcoming on why the parents of Kulbhushan Jadhav had still not been given any visas. There was absolute silence on that. Did that strike you?
That and a lot more struck me, but I don't want to argue about it.
So you have actually formed an assessment. You have actually formed an assessment, but you're not going to share it with us. I understand that. I know these are sensitive matters. When can we expect, sir, some sort of a resolution to all of this? Because no date has been set by the judge, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't think it will be very long, because on the note on which it's ended today, that in principle they hinted to the court that nothing will be done in such a hurry and the court should hear the case. So that's what we are saying. Don't do anything and the court hears the case. So we are pretty close on that.
And there was one point that he began by stating
Mr. Harish Salve, the other question is...
The video evidence was not accepted by the court. Why was that? Could you explain that? I didn't understand that point. He said that, look, we wanted to present the video, but they didn't allow us.
Yeah, the court did not allow it because... we objected and the court did not allow it. They felt it was not appropriate.
Oh, okay, on what grounds was it not appropriate, sir?
Well, there'll be a written order which we will see shortly, but we were just told the bottom line.
Is that a setback?
Your call.
But in your assessment, your professional assessment.
Well, if you want to show something, obviously it helps your case. If you're denied that right, it's a setback. So in that sense, yeah.
Important, very important.
Rahul, come on. If he had shown it, you would have shown it all over India.
I would have.
That's what they wanted.
I would have.
That's what they wanted. And that opportunity was taken away. Yeah.
That's a very astute observation. Yeah, so it was a setback.
So Mr. Harish Salve, normally yourself with so much experience, you would have a gut feel on how the case really went on in the court. What's your gut feel on this particular case?
Navika, now you're being naughty. I'm not going to
No, there's just a lot of
expectations. I'm trying to get you to speak. Mr. Harish Salve, I hope you can join me on the News Hour tonight. On the News Hour tonight, after you've relaxed a bit.
After the order, I'll tell you a lot.
Okay, that would be good. Are you heading out to London now?
Yes, I'm leaving.
Well, he's heading out to London. And we hope to, of course, catch him there, because he's probably going to be in a more expansive frame of mind. That was Harish Salve giving us his assessment, not a very rosy one, of Pakistan's defense, and perhaps rightly so, because Pakistan has so much to hide tonight, and we are joined by 2 individuals who will do more to obfuscate, and they are Air Marshal Abid Rao and Lieutenant Colonel Shafkat Saeed. Also with us is Nalin Kohli, spokesperson of the Bharatiya Janata Party, RSN Singh, defense analyst, and Maruf Raza, consulting editor of Times Now. Let me begin with you first, Air Marshal Abid Rao. Your side peddled cheap lies and played to the galleries and could not even substantiate the 3 basic questions. Why did they deny a man a defense by denying him consular access? Why is it that they have not handed India the case file? And why aren't they allowing the mother of Kulbhushan Jadhav to see him? 3 basic questions. on the back of which India built its case. No answers.
Okay. Is your question over?
Yes,
Can
sir.
I answer you now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. First of all, you know, you must not forget the kind of arrogant attitude of Indian government in this case. You are still trying to bully Pakistan even when you are wrong.
Right.
First of all, he's a terrorist. Second thing, he's not been given any consular access on that
Where's
ground.
the proof?
Geneva. We
How's he a
have the proof.
terrorist?
He's
Where's
with
the
us and we
proof?
have the proof. So, please, listen.
You wanted to produce the proof,
Second thing is,
and the ICJ said we are not interested in seeing it.
we will do it.
You wanted to play the confession statement.
Second thing is,
the ICJ said we don't want to see your confession statement because it's a con job.
How come you have gone to a third party?
Arey, my dear man,
similar agreement. So
my dear
not
sir,
on everything.
my dear sir,
when you,
my dear sir, you wanted to bring a confession statement.
Shot down.
Sir, answer me.
Unarmed aircraft.
Rao Sahab, answer me. I'm not going to ask you any complicated question.
You thought that will not.
Arey sir, मेरी बात तो सुनिए.
When you are at fault, you don't want to go to the International Court of Justice.
Air Marshal,
you don't want to go to a third party.
Air Marshal,
with
due respect,
please listen to me.
With due respect,
with
due respect, Air Marshal Sahab,
you refused and the case was dropped.
अरे सर आपने इतना माहौल किया वहां जाके कि the people weren't convinced, the judges weren't convinced. You said you have a confession. The confession says it all. But the ICJ says don't show us this confession. Thank you, spare us the agony of this confession because it's crap. Okay, Lieutenant Colonel Shafkat Saeed, why would the International Court of Justice not want to hear your evidence number one, which is the confessional statement? आप मुझे ये बताइए.
कन्फेशनल स्टेटमेंट का ये स्टेज नहीं है, ये प्रोविजनल मेजर्स का टाइम है. कन्फेशनल स्टेटमेंट का टाइम आएगा, कन्फेशनल स्टेटमेंट वो सुनेंगे और उस दिन आपको बहुत शर्मिंदगी का सामना करना पड़ेगा. मैं आपको
अगली डेट पे तो
आपके नेशनल हुक्म पे बता रहा हूं.
देंगे.
ये अभी प्रोविजनल स्टेज है, ये पहली हियरिंग है.
अरे सर,
आपको तीसरी चौथी हियरिंग में उसकी कन्फेशन सुनाई जाएगी. आप रोते हुए सुनेंगे उसकी कन्फेशन.
यू आर सेइंग
बात तो सुन लें, बात सुनना सीखें.
नहीं, बात मैंने
सीखे.
मैं 3-4 दिन के बाद
आईसीजे नहीं सुनना चाह रहे. होगी या उससे अगली हियरिंग में कन्फेशनल स्टेटमेंट आप रोते हुए सुनेंगे, वो सुनाई जाएगी, आपको सुनना पड़ेगी, कोर्ट सुनेगी.
लेफ्टिनेंट,
कोर्ट ने प्रोविजनल मेजर्स के टाइम में
हिंदुस्तान ने वो रोके सुने क्योंकि आपने
हिंदुस्तान
उस आदमी को मार के, उसको टॉर्चर करके, उसके टेंपल पे गन लगा के उनसे बुलवाया.
बिल्कुल इसी तरह
आप जैसे लोगों को तो अंदर डालना चाहिए जेल में.
बैठा हुआ है. उसके इर्द गिर्द 6 फुट में कोई चीज नहीं है. आप देख लें उसकी वीडियो.
गोली सर 100 मीटर की डिफरेंस पे आती है, दूरी से आती है. यू डोंट हैव टू स्टैंड समवेयर नेक्स्ट टू समबडी टू इंटिमिडेट देम. आपको पता ही क्या है.
बात सुने, उसका कन्फेशनल स्टेटमेंट इतना जरूरी नहीं है.
अच्छा,
उसका जो एविडेंस
तो फिर आपका केस क्या है?
$6.4 मिलियन का जो उसने अप्रोप्रिएट किए हैं,
then what is your
मुकम्मल
case?
ट्रैक हमारे पास, मुकम्मल ट्रेल 6.4
So then why were you showing the confessional statement on live TV?
उसके कंडुइट्स और उसका डिस्पेंसर, उसका मुकम्मल ट्रेल $6.4 मिलियन का हमारे पास मौजूद है.
लेफ्टिनेंट कर्नल साहब, आपकी धज्जियां उड़ा दी. धज्जियां, बैंड बजा दिया आप लोगों का. बैंड बजा दिया आप लोगों का.
बैंड आपका खुद बज रहा है.
तभी तो सीन ये है कि आपको बोला गया कि आप अपनी कन्फेशनल स्टेटमेंट अपने तकिए के नीचे रखें. कीप योर कन्फेशनल स्टेटमेट अंडर योर बिग ब्लोटेड पिलोज सो योर बिग ब्लोटेड हेड्स don't feel
your big bloated head is
don't feel the full blast.
You have been slapped thoroughly
of the truth. Bury it under your pillows. No one wants to see your confessional statement. I want to bring in Maruf Raza on this point. Maruf Raza,
किसी extent पे जाने को तैयार हैं.
If the confessional statement was such a germane bit of evidence, I'm sure the ICJ would have wanted to hear it.
कर्नल साहब, आपकी बात सुन ली. अभी मैं आप ही ने जो कहा है उसके ऊपर let me respond. Firstly, you said that we did not want to go to the international court when you wanted to take us for the shooting down of the aircraft called Atlantic, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Now the fact of the matter is, if we did not go there, and you felt there is no merit in the Indian case today, तो आप लोग क्यों पहुंचे अभी इंटरनेशनल कोर्ट में वहाँ हमारे एलिगेशंस का जवाब देने के लिए? Firstly, sir, सुन लीजिए मेरी बात, Khan साहब, please listen to me. Sir, I was listening to Colonel Shakfat Saeed. Colonel Shakfat Saeed, don't get worked up.
India was guilty, you shied away. We are not
I know you are in a tight spot. आप बात तो सुनिए. आप बात ही नहीं सुन रहे हैं, बकवास करे जा रहे हैं. Listen to my question. Firstly, why have you gone? If you felt that the international court, has no jurisdiction. Secondly, let me ask you, अगर आपके पास इतना एविडेंस था, अरे कर्नल साहब दूसरे की भी बात सुनिए, अगर आपके पास इतना एविडेंस था और आपके ऊपर इतने आपके अपने एविडेंस पे इतना भरोसा है कि आपका एविडेंस देख के हम रोने लगेंगे, तो आज आपके लॉयर ने क्यों नहीं पेश किया? Why didn't he put forward that bloody evidence? You have no evidence.
Provisional state है.
अरे कोई स्टे नहीं है. आप लोग के कैंगरू कोर्ट ने एक सेकंड रेट मिलिट्री जस्टिस देके, and you've been caught on your bloody flat feet. You can't respond to the situation. Come up with something worthwhile so we can take the discussion forward.
By shouting and acting like a baboon.
I am not. You are the one who is shouting. आपने अपनी शक्ल देखी है और फिर किसी से पूछिए कि कौन बफून लग रहा है कौन नहीं. आप बकवास करे जा रहे हैं. You have always come on this channel and talked utter nonsense. You have never been able to substantiate anything with facts.
Bullshit.
I find you completely a ridiculous specimen of the Pakistan Army. I'm sure the Pakistan Army, which is a professional outfit, can do better than producing jokers like you.
Circus लगाया हुआ.
Come up with some substance.
आपको प्रोग्राम करना ही नहीं आता है. बात सुन नहीं सकते.
प्रोग्राम क्या? आप मेरी बात नहीं सुन रहे. आपकी बात में चुप से. अभी मैंने आपको 3 सवाल पूछे. आप वो 3 सवाल का जवाब दीजिए मुझे. Why did you go to the international court if you think it had no merit? Where is the evidence
I will answer this.
Is going to make us answer. Where is that evidence?
$6.4
You have one doctor tape which the court threw out today. Court ने कहा
calm down.
And your great barrister seemed rather confused. Was Kulbhushan Jadhav a spy or a terrorist?
I think your barrister,
Indian.
Your barrister, sir, spent more time adjusting his hairdo than making the presentation. I think it would have taken him about an hour and a half to get that elaborate hairdo on his head.
Pakistani, I would be embarrassed today.
Absolutely.
Don't talk nonsense.
Embarrassed.
Look at your cheapster.
Completely.
I'm sure you could have done better.
Air
आपके पास उससे तो अच्छे लॉयर्स होंगे. आप ये कहाँ से लाए?
Air Marshal.
Accented British barrister. Who does not know how to project this case based on facts. Where are your facts?
Cheap tactics.
Facts कहाँ हैं, Colonel साहब?
Rahul.
Where are your facts?
Now you are going for hairdo.
We may be embarrassed. You should be ashamed.
Embarrassed? You should have embarrassed us today. I was waiting to be embarrassed.
नहीं होते हैं आपके पास जब हकीकत नहीं होती बयान करने के लिए तो आप नॉनसेंस का सहारा लेते हैं.
नहीं, आप मुझे बताइए आपकी हकीकत आज कहाँ थी?
There is the evidence. बेवकूफ बनाते हैं और वो है ही बेवकूफ.
नहीं, आप तो बहुत होशियार हैं, तो आज कैसे गलती कर गए?
जी आपसे होशियार हैं हम.
अरे जरूर होशियार हैं. वो तो मुझे पता है कि पठान का दिमाग कितना मोटा होता है, बात और है. लेकिन मुझे ये बताइए आज एविडेंस क्यों नहीं दिया आपने? Where was the evidence?
क्या चीज?
Where is the evidence? Why are you so nervous?
का स्टेज है.
आज नहीं देंगे एविडेंस.
आपकी तसल्ली करेंगे.
आज नहीं देंगे वो एविडेंस.
करेंगे.
वो अपने कैंगरू कोर्ट में देंगे. They will put the evidence before a kangaroo court.
कलभूषण सिंह यादव की बॉडी सुपुर्द की जाएगी.
Okay, 1 second.
कमल आपको तसल्ली होगी उस वक्त.
Okay, now calm down. इनका थोड़ा कर दीजिए. 1 second. Calm down. 1 minute. Let me come in here. Let's not get all completely distracted by the theatrics. I just want to bring in Nalin Kohli and Colonel RSN before I bring in Air Marshal once again. Nalin Kohli, in 90 minutes, Hari Salve went over broadly 4 points, but he elaborated on them in such a deep manner that I think the Pakistanis realized that they had no response. None of India's most pressing questions, which resulted in us moving the ICJ, have been answered. The Pakistani lawyer did a fantastic job spewing propaganda, lies. He was theatrical. He even wore the wig. He looked the part, but had no substance. No substance at all.
Whatever be their submissions, Pakistan is entitled to have a set of submissions. Whatever's the outcome of it, the ICJ will eventually say. The facts of the matter are very clear. There's no scope for any ambiguity or confusion. A, there has been denial of consular access. There has been no supporting evidence or charge sheet or a process of trial that has been made available to anyone. There's denial of access to the relatives, in this case the mother of Kulbhushan Yadav. There has been great secrecy about the manner in which the trial was done. All we know is that a death sentence has been awarded by a military court in a country which is supposed to be not under military rule. And last of all, there is no option of any defense because it seems that instructions have gone that nobody can defend him among the bar association or lawyers. This is in Pakistan, which claims it's a democratic country. But the gifts of Pakistan to India, including Kasab or any of the terrorists who cross over, when they have faced trial here, the full length of it, full process of law, which can go right up to the Supreme Court, it's not hidden from anybody. The evidence is placed and finally convictions have taken place. So these two examples are there in front of us. Now all the theatrics that I heard a few minutes ago, obviously Pakistan is trying to perhaps build its case beyond legal submissions and perhaps beyond the situation that would bring some kind of justification for why they did so. As far as India's concerned, India's objective has been, or strategy, and well articulated by Mr. Harish Salve, who, as you know, is one of the most eminent senior advocates that we have, not only in India, but he practices globally. We need to bear in mind that if Pakistan is a signatory to the Vienna Conventions, and there is a denial of the provisions or they do not apply the provisions to which they are signatories, then the question will arise, can they abrogate it? Have they walked away from it? Which they haven't. So even if there are bilateral mechanisms between the two countries, that does not mean that the ICJ and its jurisdiction with regard to specifically the Vienna Convention is going to be, Pakistan can turn away from it or literally discard it into the dustbin. So now Pakistan will have to, as we've seen through the day, come up with something cogent that clearly refutes the 4 points that Mr. Salve has given. A, about consular access. 2, about evidence. 3, about the applicability of the Vienna things. And 4th, about the denial of access to even family members.
Yes.
What is that evidence? Nobody knows. What is the process of trial? Nobody knows.
Well,
where the trial has been done, by whom it has been done,
RSN.
what were the defense opportunities given, so that you could pick up anyone in the middle of a place, hang him on a tree, and say, this was our idea of dispensing justice. We are convinced it was the correct way. That's not how it happens if a country claims to be A, running by a constitution,
absolutely,
B, one that believes that rule of law exists, and
Pakistan, Colonel RSN.
Now Pakistan claims all this, we are not claiming it.
Yeah, absolutely. And Pakistan, Colonel RSN, today had the opportunity to prove it's not a rogue state, that it follows due process of international law, but it failed. It could not even, and this is a very critical point, India would never have moved the International Court of Justice if it had something to hide. Pakistan is running away. Their entire submission is to exempt them from oversight, Colonel RSN, of the ICJ. Now, if you were so convinced about your case, you would have relished the opportunity to come out there and say, no, bring it on, Colonel RSN, bring it on.
Right in the morning, I was with you, Rahul.
Yeah.
And I had told you that what is going to be Pakistan's line of argument. And I had told you that they are going to pin their entire argument, or the main thrust of the argument would be the validity of 2008 agreement and, non-jurisdiction of the International Court of Justice. And where did I gather this from? I gathered this from Pakistani newspapers and columns. So if the Pakistan dispensation says that it was not prepared, I think that they're lying through their teeth. 1. 2 is, yes, as expected, the main thrust of the argument was, that about the validity of 2008 agreement. But the moot point here was as to why India moved to the International Court of Justice. It moved because Kulbhushan Jadhav, an Indian national, was denied consular access.
Yes.
Now, instead of addressing the problem, this main issue, the eminent lawyer from Pakistan in his eminent wig, he started, beating around the bush, and he made a very significant statement, ludicrous statement. He said that Pakistan will not be cowed down.
Will not be cowed down.
Not he,
will
not cowed down by terrorism.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was the argument made that Pakistan will not be cowed down by terrorism.
By terrorism.
For God's sake. Marshal Rao, you have been cowed down by Abdul Aziz, of Lal Masjid. You have been cowed down by Hafiz Saeed. You have been cowed down by Haqqani Group. You have been cowed down by Masood Azhar, and you are telling the International Court of Justice, based on premise of one Indian whom you abducted, that we will not be cowed down by terrorism. I'll tell you something, and the nation must understand this today, that why India was denied consular access. It is in deference to the planned continuation of proxy war, because Pakistan is convinced that they will never be confronted with this kind of a situation.
Precisely.
Because they have a culture of disowning people or using suicide bombers.
Precisely.
So so that is why
it shocked them.
That
it shocked them when the Indian establishment came out and said, Kulbhushan Jadhav is an Indian.
Yes.
Is an Indian.
Because for them,
they couldn't even pick up the dead bodies of Kasab.
Are like animals.
Colonel RSN, if you remember, they disowned Kasab. Poor Kasab's father, sitting in his village, went on to Geo News and said, "Ye mera ladka hai. This is my boy." They disowned Kasab. They haven't picked up his body. Can you imagine this? This is the lot we are dealing with. They are not even willing to back their own assets. And I want to bring you in, Air Marshal Abid Rao. आपको इतनी शर्म क्यों आती है अपने लोगों से? अपने लोग आप पालते हैं, उनको ट्रेनिंग देते हैं, उनको खाना खिला के मोटा करते हैं, फिर आप उनको भूल जाते हैं. आप उनको शर्म आती है आपको उनकी बॉडीज वापस लेने के लिए. क्यों? अपने लोगों का आप अपमान क्यों करते हैं इतना? Why do you insult your own? Why?
आप बूढ़ी औरतों की तरह ताने मत दें. Let's talk about the subject.
Regulars. Can you imagine, sir, which state disowns its own army men?
I told you a decent way of resolving this issue. I told you a decent way of resolving this issue. Mr. Ajit Doval and Mr. Modi should commit that they will not interfere in Balochistan.
Arey sir, I'm asking you a basic question. Why are you so ashamed of burying your own martyrs?
Don't be so sarcastic. Let's talk about this.
I'm not being sarcastic. Isn't it a fact? Why didn't you take back Kasab's body? Why didn't you take back the bodies of the 9 others you sent across to have them butchered here? I'm asking you. They were shot up by an NSG within 72 hours.
Kasab को आपने 6 महीने पहले पकड़ा था, उसको ला के उस मुकदमे फंसा दिया. Kasab was not involved in Mumbai attack. You people have, उसको नेपाल के बॉर्डर से पकड़ा वाला करना.
अरे साहब, what about your own army men that you left rotting on the heights of Kargil? You didn't even want to pick up their bodies. And look at India. We returned 90,000 of your braves, your army men to you.
And
we sent them back.
Let's go for all issues.
We send them back. We could have held on to them for life.
Third party.
And bargain each life with you, but you have disowned. I suppose that's the reason why Maruf.
I like your confidence because
they would have disowned
even when you're wrong, you are as confident. Why doesn't Indian media give this confidence to your government officials? Why don't they talk?
Air Marshal,
it's not a media war.
It's a pathetic state of affairs that you're disowning your own assets today.
I'm sure.
You were so stunned that India said, no, Kulbhushan Jadhav is our man. We stand by our men, sir. We fight for them in courts of law internationally. We don't abandon them like you. And I want to bring in Maruf on this point. I want to bring him in on this point because this really...
You should
this
be ashamed
really is at the
today
heart
that
of it
your
all,
man
Maruf.
is being tried
It's at the heart
in
of it all.
ICJ
They're so
for
ashamed.
being a terrorist.
They're so
killing
ashamed of their
hundreds of people.
assets.
He is 15.
They're so ashamed of their assets.
You should be ashamed.
They've even locked up one of their assets
You
now
should
in
be
jail.
ashamed that
And
you're
they've said
fighting
that
a
he's part of the
wrong
jihad
case.
factory. A man who goes around saying
what
that I
face
am
will you talk
actually
of morality,
a social
human
worker
rights?
has been put up in jail. It's a sham arrest, I understand. But even then, they've told the world, they've told their own courts, हाँ ये तो terrorist ही है.
With this attitude
He's
of
a
yours,
terrorist.
they can't
Hafiz
be
Saeed
any
is a
decent things
terrorist.
from
They owned
Pakistan
up.
side.
Maruf.
Rahul.
Okay, let him be. Okay,
Rahul,
do what you
once
want to.
Air Marshal Saab is finished. I want to raise a few questions. The first question I want to raise that, sir, आपके ही point पे कि कसब को हम नेपाल के border से उठा के लाए थे. From my understanding, and I think you'll probably agree with it, at least that's what Geo TV said, कि वो तो कसाई था. कसाई क्या नेपाल में छुट्टी काटने गया था? उसके बाप ने तो एडमिट कर दिया जियो टीवी में कि मेरा बेटा था. आप कह रहे हैं हम उसको नेपाल के बॉर्डर से चलो. सर, let me ask you question, then you respond. Sir, let me ask you questions. Sir, with respect, sir, let me ask you questions, then you respond. Second thing is, wasn't it General Musharraf who went on record to say after he killed Nawab Bukti in Balochistan that I've solved the Baluchi problem 500%. It only went out of hand subsequently because of what he did about Nawab Bukti with the helicopter attack. But that's another issue. और अगर कुलभूषण यादव ने भी बलूचिस्तान में आग लगाई थी तो आप मुझे हैंड ऑन हार्ट रख के बता दीजिए सर कि बलूच प्रॉब्लम कब शुरू हुई थी. Did it start 5 years ago or did it start in February 1948 when the Khan of Kalat refused to join the Pakistani Union? So that is one. Now let me ask you a question on Kulbhushan Yadav. Sir, मेरी बात सुनिए. सर मैं सवाल तो पूछ लूँ आपको. आपने पॉइंट्स दिए, मेरे को 2 मिनट तो दे दीजिए. मैं ये पूछ रहा हूँ कि if the international court tomorrow asks you that okay, we buy your line about evidence on Kulbhushan Yadav, please let it be investigated. Please let our grand representatives come to Pakistan and meet him. Please make his statement once again public to outside investigations, outside your military courts. Will you be willing to do that? Please answer these questions.
देखिए मारूफ, कुलभूषण must be given full justice. I agree to that. But India has taken the matter to a third party because two of us cannot resolve our issues. So let's take all matters to a third party. आप UN के defaulter हैं, आप और Atlantic आपने shoot down किया unarmed aircraft in Pakistani territory.
You have been taking everything to the. You have been taking everything to third party. Indus Waters Treaty तो बार-बार आप ले जाते हैं UN के Indus Waters Treaty. Other issues you also want. You keep raising Kashmir issue at the UN. You have Nawaz Sharif appointed a delegation of 22 envoys to go to all over the world to internationalize Kashmir issue. और फिर आप और हम we are not wanting to set aside the bilateral clause. All we are saying under Article 36 of the Vienna Convention, you have to give consular access. We are not saying we are abandoning bilateralism. Have you seen our case? आपने because we've gone to the international court, हमें अपने लोगों की जान प्यारी है सर, हमें अपने लोगों की जान प्यारी है. आपका मसला और है कि आपके सोल्जर भी मर जाते हैं, उनको आप लेते नहीं है तो हम उनको दफनाते हैं. और मैं झूठ नहीं कह रहा हूँ, आपको पता है इसके बारे में.
Tell me one thing, Air Marshal साहब. This is Rahul here. Tell me one thing, sir. आप कहते हैं Air Marshal साहब, listen to me 1 minute, 30 seconds. I won't ask you for more time. 30 seconds. Your state said that we have a confessional statement from Kulbhushan Yadav. You played it out on national TV because it was a very important, very, very important statement. You must have watched that broadcast. It was about 8-9 months ago. So it was an important piece of evidence. Would you agree? Yes or no?
Yes.
It was. So then tell me, sir, why does the International Court of Justice say that we don't want to watch it? There is nothing to be gained by us watching it.
Well, let's wait for the. ठीक है. Let's wait for the verdict. आपको मैं ये कह रहा हूँ that two of us cannot solve our problems. When you make allegations, we refuse. When we make our allegations, you refuse. So let's go to a third party for everything that is unsettled between us.
नहीं इसमें
हम तो जाने को तैयार हैं सर.
ये चलेगा
मार्शल साहब, we are willing to go to third party. We are willing. वो बात और है कि कांग्रेस रेजिम का ऑब्सेशन था to use the Shimla Accord as a fig leaf. UN resolution पढ़ के देख लीजिए, उसमें भी आप embarrass हो जाएंगे.
आप उसके जवाब नहीं देना चाहते.
सर UN resolution में
तो चले
you have to vacate your aggression first. You have never vacated your aggression. You have never withdrawn from POK. No, if you really listen to the Owen Dixon plan, the first line says, and the first condition is, नहीं, आप हमारी भी सुन लीजिए, since you keep wanting to talk about the Owen Dixon plan, let me illuminate you. The first line says, Pakistan must vacate its own aggression in POK. Then the Indian troops will have to vacate their aggression, so-called aggression, in Kashmir. You have to first vacate. You have never vacated. आप डरते क्यों हैं? Why are you so scared of vacating
आप
Kashmir?
हामी दो भरे, आप हामी भरे. We will vacate. आप हामी भरे.
आप करते ही नहीं हैं. It's been 70 years, sir, to the date almost. And you have not vacated. So what are you waiting for? Because you're scared. You're scared of showing your proof. You're scared of giving us consular access. You're scared of taking back your dead. You're scared of admitting that you have a state policy that promotes terror. You are scared, sir, of admitting that you had Osama bin Laden under your armpits for years altogether. You're scared of admitting that there is a terror factory in Bhavalpur. You're scared of admitting, sir. No, I'm telling you, you're scared of so many things that you're paralyzed by it. And it showed today, sir, in the ICJ, when your great barrister could not look beyond his wig and make a point. And that is what has happened. He got so caught up in his wig, he got so caught up in his accent that he forgot the points that he had to make. And so you have a situation where in a couple of weeks from now, Colonel Harrison, you're going to have egg on your face.
ICJ में आप गए हैं, हम भी चले गए. हमने कहा ठीक है.
Colonel Harrison, this is the fact.
We are not scared of ICJ.
वो अंग्रेजी accent बोलता ही रह गया.
नहीं. Air Marshal sir, let me remind you that the impetus to jihadism in Pakistan is not Kulbhushan or in Baluchistan. There is a religious dynamics which has been on there for last 3-4 decades, and that is what has, engendered, the jihadism there. So it is not Kulbhushan. You try to you encouraged people like Hafiz Saeed to take the Wahhabi brand of Islam into Balochistan, and you are resisted fiercely. Until today you are being resisted fiercely. Now, day before yesterday, you mean to say the attack on Jamaat Ulema Islam, convoy or retinue was done by Kulbhushan.
I know the issue. But I also know
you know the issue. I totally agree. But if you are trying to sell. You are trying to sell to this entire world that India sent one lieutenant, who belongs to the technical branch.
You have a network.
Branch of the Navy.
He is one guy. He is a serving guy from Navy. We have got so many agents. They are maybe Pakistanis.
Where are the names? Where is the evidence?
It's not one man.
Where are the names of the agents? Air Marshal, where are the names? एक नाम तो बताइए. आपने कुलभूषण को तो सबके सामने खड़ा कर दिया. बाकी सबसे इतनी हमदर्दी क्यों है कि उनके नाम नहीं बता रहे हैं आप?
अभी नहीं, हमने अपने एमक्यूएम के लीडर्स का बताया, अपने एमक्यूएम के और बंदे बताए हैं, हमने बलोच लीडर्स बताए हैं who are on raw assistance.
अरे सर छोड़िए आप.
Funding that, raw is providing arms.
अब तो आप कहेंगे कि even Mr. Sharif is a raw agent because your army has a problem with Mr. Sharif. Previously the person who was deposed, that Parvez Musharraf deposed, was Sharif because he was anti-national. Parvez Musharraf was then deemed anti-national. Everyone is a raw agent for you. Nonetheless, I think we're going to be losing your signal. Thank you for joining us. I just want to play out that interaction that we had with Harish Salve, the only channel to have had that interaction after the Pakistani side made its deposition. Very important because Harish Salve, not impressed, says in not so many words that it was a complete ineffectual intervention by Pakistan. Listen to the man of the moment, Harish Salve, speaking to us after the Pakistani intervention.
Mr. Harish Salve, that was a great deposition made by yourself on behalf of India. What did you think of the Pakistani deposition? No real answers to the questions you raised about the fact that no consular access had been provided to Kulbhushan Jadhav.
Navika, you heard it, I heard it, we all heard it. One comment I cannot resist is, I wonder how Pakistan forcefully says he was an Indian spy and he was sent by India, but then at the same time says India hasn't proved that he was an Indian national. I don't know, this is what we heard just now. So anyway, let's
Mr. Harish Salve, the other question is suddenly Pakistan brings up the fact that there was a passport that was presented to India, a passport where there was a Muslim name. These facts have never been given by the High Commission to the Indian side. And that was your entire case.
I don't want to, you picked it up, you've seen the transcript, I don't want to comment anything more. But let me also remind you, Navika, none of this is relevant. The question is consular access. As I said in the morning, the more grievous the charge, the greater the need for procedural safeguards. If somebody, what did we do with Kasab? How did we try him? So the graver the charge, the more the need for procedural safeguards. Today we heard a lot.
But Mr. Harish Salve, there was another question. They said, the Pakistani side said that there is going to be no execution in the next 1 week or 1 month. So there is no urgency for this hearing at all. Do you think this is a deposition or this is an argument that's been given to hoodwink the court?
You almost picked up something interesting, Navika. The agent in his opening suggested there was no urgency because there is some 60 days for one clemency, 90 days for one clemency. That takes you to 4 or 5 months, and he said in the meanwhile the court can hear the main case. So this is like saying, okay, we won't do anything, you hear the main case. Let's see where we go.
Mr. Salve, this is Rahul Shivshankar. I just wanted to ask you a couple of questions. And, I was struck by the complete silence on part of the Pakistani counsel on the question of consular access and why, for the life of Mr. Kulbhushan Jadhav, they couldn't explain why they had denied him consular access, one. And two, why they hadn't handed over to India the verdict copy or the case copy. Did that also strike you as a point?
That and a lot more. Anyway.
No, but why do you think they were not forthcoming on that point, and how germane is that? Because, sir, that's exciting a lot of conversation back here in India.
You're assuming that there is an answer. If there isn't, there isn't.
So you mean to say that because they don't have an answer?
Mr. Harish Salve, did it strike you?
They really don't have a leg to stand on that one question. It's not because India has not cooperated in the investigation.
Yeah. Anyway, you all heard, we all heard. So let's see what the court decides.
Mr. Harish Salve, just on the form of the deposition made by the Pakistani side, Barrister Qureshi, my question to you, did you think it was a legal deposition or did you think it was a rhetorical, political statement that was being made in the International Court of Justice? How did you classify it?
As a lawyer, I will not like to comment on the submissions of another lawyer.
But he said that, we were using the space as one for theatrics.
That's all right.
People are very angry.
You heard it, I heard it, the judges heard it.
People are extremely angry, sir. People are very angry here in India after they heard the Pakistani, lawyers spewing all sorts of lies, fallacious lies. And I just wanted, therefore, for you to set the record straight. What were the 3 lacunas in your estimation, sir, please? If you could.
No, I don't want to start getting into
that. No, but you must have a loose idea, at least a loose assessment.
The one comment, of course, which I couldn't resist is that he was I don't know if he was an Indian spy, but the lawyer said that we have not proved that he was an Indian national. So I don't know.